The city was in fear. All city residents were afraid to go out into the streets. Children stopped playing on playgrounds. It was scary to walk at night. Even during the day, it was scary to walk around the city. Because people in different places of the city saw flashes in the sky. In the middle of this flash, they saw the silhouette of a man. This man was making some very strange, loud, and most importantly, scary sounds. Then the flash disappeared. And again, she appeared in a new place. And again, the silhouette of a man appeared in the sky, making terrible sounds. Oh God, how scary. I definitely wouldn't go outside. I would just sit at home. She closed all the doors, and I wouldn't even look out the window. You had to go through a lot in this city. The cousin took a deep breath, exhaled, and spoke. That's it. I'm ready to listen further, brother. Continue what happened next. Tell me. It was the usual beautiful morning. The sun was rising into the sky. A light fog floated across the roofs of houses. No signs of trouble. The flashes appeared only at night, so even during the day, people could move around the city more or less safely. But by evening, everyone still stayed at home and locked the doors. The bishop continued to tell his story to his sister and cousin. And then, in the afternoon, everyone saw some people in the sky. Then we looked closer and realized that these were not easy people. These were real warriors, a whole army of soldiers. In the sky, they stood right on the clouds. Just so you understand, there were wars on every cloud. There were so many of them. There are so many clouds in the sky. It was scary to realize that they would all come down to our Earth. After a while, all these soldiers, all these wars, descended to Earth from heaven. They moved across the field. We entered through the gates into our city. There were so many of them that they occupied all the streets and all the free places. They only wanted to seize our lands, harm all the inhabitants, and make them your slaves. So that they work, generate income, and pay this leader named the Red Tsar. But our friend was able to defeat the Red Tsar. Her name is the Snow Queen. It was she who somehow outwitted this Red King. He wanted to steal a scroll of ancient spells from her, to be the most powerful on the planet. Only with them could he have the greatest power everywhere and in everything. And the Snow Queen was able to outwit him. He got nothing. He disgraced himself in front of his troops. He disgraced himself in front of his people. And he ran. This is the story, said the bishop. I also have one friend. I can safely call him a friend. He too, like me, one day went over to the side of good and began to serve people and the world. The owl is the king of fire. He has super strength. He managed to tame fire and direct it in the right direction. He taught people to take care of fire, to make fire, and so that fire would bring people only benefit and not harm. He is also a wonderful warrior, very brave and courageous. Once upon a time, a blue prince wanted to conquer our lands. That's what we all called him, the bishop said. This story is about how this blue prince also wanted to conquer our lands, because nothing grew on his land, and our land was very fertile. The soil here is wonderful. There are rivers, lakes, waterfalls, mountains, everything that can be sown in the ground. Everything sprouted, both vegetables and fruits. We grow all kinds of flowers here. But you saw it yourself, cousin, said the bishop. So this blue prince decided to conquer our lands. He wanted to make our residents his slaves so that they would plant and grow. They worked on these lands like damned people, and everything that grew was given to him. This was wrong. Something had to be done. Then the king of fire stood up for the inhabitants of the city. People asked him for help, and the king, was already ready to help the people. The king of fire dropped off the blue prince. He watched him for a long time. He already knew all his weak points. He understood that the blue prince was afraid of fire. This prince is afraid of lightning, rain, and electrical discharges. And all this was already charged in the arsenal of the King of Fire. The bishop continued to tell his story. One day the Blue Prince, thinking that he had succeeded. I lost my vigilance. He thought that all the people were already his. But that was not the case. The Fire King was already biding his time to attack. The king only needed to concentrate and strike. And here is the King of Fire. First, he threw rain at the Blue Prince. Then the Fire King decided to electrocute him. Everything around crackled and sparks flew in different directions. The noise was loud throughout the whole city. Nothing could be heard. Still, the prince did not expect such a collision. He thought that everything on this earth was already his. He thought that everything was in his hands. But he was wrong. The Fire King's spells awaited him. Balak Vladika continued his story. The Blue Prince was completely electrified, from head to toe. The hair on the Blue Prince's head began to lose its color. They burned out right before our eyes. Another color, and blue, they turned into a simple white ash. His eyes were filled with fear. He understood that there was only one way out: to run away from here. Run so fast that the King of Fire does not have time to cover him with his best weapon: heavy fire. Electricity and the spell did their job. The Blue Prince practically lost all his power. He could do nothing but flee from our lands. And so, the tactics and strategy failed. The problem was not solved. He didn't take over the land, and he got it in full. Fleeing from our lands, the Blue Prince looked, to put it mildly, not very well. The bishop continued his story. He had a pale face. He looked very frightened. He did not expect such a confrontation with us. My hair has almost lost its color. They faded and became completely white, almost gray. This is how our people remember this Blue Prince, as a gray-haired man. And everything was fine again. Our city has returned to normal life. Birds singing was heard again. The sun rose and set. The sky was very beautiful. You could hear the river flowing and the waterfalls falling. People and children walked in the streets and were not afraid of anything. The city lived its usual, peaceful, kind life. This is just a super story, the cousin told her brother. I couldn't even imagine how much you had to endure here. I thought there was always peace and goodness in this city. But I'm really interested, brother. Continue if there are more stories. I really want to listen. And the bishop continued to talk. So, here it is. I already told you that I have a good warrior, whom I made the main warrior in our city, and his name is Father of the Blue Dynasty. He has a daughter of the Blue Dynasty. This is a wonderful girl. At first she was cunning. She loved to deceive. She also loved to do different nasty things. The daughter of the Blue Dynasty. She always wanted to prove herself. In some industry, she wanted to prove to herself, probably, first of all, and then for all of us, that she can do a lot. Of course, she had to go through a lot because she was primarily caring for her father, who was seriously injured. But I already told you this story. Echo, I just want to say that this is a beautiful girl, and she has proven that she is very brave, and she is a wonderful warrior who can be trusted. An old woman also appeared in our house. She called herself a makeup artist. She was doing her hair, makeup. I worked on images. I figured out who should wear what clothes. But in reality, she is not who she said she was. She was once a secret agent. She, like us, has superpowers. She is clairvoyant and knows many different ancient spells. After she helped the father of the Blue Dynasty recover from his injuries, they became very close friends. And then suddenly the Prince of Blue appears on our Earth again. This time he did not come to conquer lands. He asked for help. His people were very hungry. I already told you that nothing grew on his lands. And our land is very fertile. Everything grows here, no matter what you plant in the ground. The main thing is to take proper care of it. He was afraid that we would either take him prisoner or deal with him on the spot, so of course, he did not come alone. He took several of his soldiers with him so that he would not be so afraid, but he came with good intentions. He came to ask for help. His soldiers were very hungry. They practically no longer had the strength to walk, but they still accompanied their leader. They told us that everyone on their lands was starving. They asked for help. They sank the grain. They asked for bread. They asked for vegetables and fruits. They asked for seedlings to plant something on their land. The Prince of Blue was, of course, very ashamed to ask us for help. After all, he once came to our lands to seize them and then work here, by your own deeds. Here he wanted to make our residents slaves so that they would plant and grow vegetables and fruits for his residents. But it didn't work out for him, and this time he asked us to come and help his people. The Blue Prince had despair in his eyes. Nothing worked for him. He begged for help for his people, his soldiers, his people. He knew that we had some spells that we could use to help his land. That's why he came to us. I felt sorry for him, the bishop continued. I used and cast one very ancient spell that helped the lands become fertile. And of course, I came to an agreement with nature. There was a great drought on his lands, so nothing grew. I caused a lot of rain to fall on his land. The rain that watered the lands day and night so that they became damp again and began to bear fruit, so that something began to grow on this land. This is how we helped, it would seem, our enemies, said the bishop. Vladika called his sister and cousin to the table to have dinner. Let's go to lunchtime soon. Said, Lord, you need to eat. You will gain strength. You will be in the mood, and we will continue to talk with you. I have many more interesting ones, and even scary stories. We can talk to you not just for hours all day long. The Lord thought about it. What else is so interesting to tell you? The Lord said to his cousin, I'll just tell you how great friends he is. For example, the father of the Blue Dynasty. He's a wonderful father. He loves his daughter very much. Ottawa subs love him. Plus, he is a wonderful warrior. He proved his loyalty to me and, of course, to our people. Why did people love him? And he began to bless. People began to compose songs about him because he is the bravest, the strongest, and probably the bravest warrior. I also conduct master classes. The bishop continued to tell his cousin. This is not only a master class in martial arts. These are also culinary master classes. I cook something and teach it to my friends and people. Yes, I really like to cook. One day I made a very large pie. This pie was made with berries that grew in my garden. By the way, I have a vegetable garden. I fed this pie to all my friends. They were absolutely delighted. When the father of the Blue Dynasty saw that I had baked a pie in the oven, he couldn't believe his eyes. He thought that I only possessed superpower spells and could conduct master classes in various martial arts. It was a pleasant surprise. He immediately asked me for the recipe and wanted to be the first to try a piece of this pie. This is true. Everyone who tried my pie said that it was the best thing they could ever try in this life and from pies. This is not a cake. This is a work of art, my friends told me. Of course I was pleased. For example, after father of the Blue Dynasty tried my pie, after he attended my master class, you won't believe it, but he discovered new superpowers that he never had before. At first he began to feel much stronger. His muscle mass began to grow. The muscles on his arms and legs were very noticeable. The father of the Blue Dynasty became very physically well built. At that moment, I realized that my pies, it's not just food. They just create magic. Food in my master classes helps people discover their superpowers. It turned out that his muscle mass began to grow. He began to look like a real athlete. The father of the Blue Dynasty constantly began to prepare this berry pie according to my recipe. The berries were grown with love in my garden in my beds. There were organic berries. Perhaps this is also a secret, the bishop said. So, the father of the Blue Dynasty began to cook pies for himself all the time, eating them every day. The strength in him increased every day. He acquired superpowers and learned to fly and move through time. He also had added confidence and strength in his gaze. He He became much more courageous. Just by looking at the father of the Blue Dynasty, one could already get scared and run away. The bishop continued to tell his cousin the story. So here's sister. My friend, the father of the Blue Dynasty, kept experimenting with my pie recipe. He began to add something of his own, and it turned out to be a combo. During the day, another super ability was revealed. He learned to twist the air, turn it into wind, spinning it with such force that it was a real tornado. He practiced this every day. He twisted his left and right hand. Once upon a time he didn't succeed, but he still tried to develop his superpowers in this. He honed his skill in this, and in the final, he became the best in this matter. Now only he has this superior skill, no one else. But let's go back to the Prince of Blue, cousin. The bishop continued to tell his stories. He actually seemed like a nice guy. He just chose the wrong path a long time ago. Perhaps no one told him in time. He didn't know which was better or which was worse. Let's continue, said the bishop. As I said before, the strong prince was a good guy. The only thing stopping him was his. I think it was too big. I would even say overpriced. Even greater pride spoiled his relations with all his neighbors. People seemed to respect him. But I think it's more likely that people were simply afraid of him. Just once the father of the Blue Dynasty and his daughter of the Blue Dynasty. We went, so to speak, to visit the Blue Prince. So how would I explain this to you gently? They decided to explain to him that he was wrong, without fighting with fists. On that moment, he was still too stupid about this principle. Rue thought, or hoped. I don't know that he will be able to conquer the whole world, but that was not the case. A people who fear their leader won't make him great. The people must first of all respect their leader. And when people start things behind your leader's back, conspiracy. This is trouble, the Blue Prince had to think. He's doing it wrong. Why did his people rebel against him? Blue Prince served evil. He lived by the principle that being feared means being respected. But in fact, little sister, this is not how Vladika continued his story. One day, the Blue Prince had to answer for his actions. The worst thing that could happen to him. This is a revolt of his people against himself. The Blue Prince understood this, but realized it too late. Everyone laughed at him. Everyone laughed. He lost respect. But in this situation, there was only one person to blame for this: himself. He had to lead the people with his actions. But alas, this always happens to those who stand on the side of evil. This is a very instructive story, the cousin told her brother Vladika. I'm just amazed. You really have a good heart, brother, his cousin told him. Let's have another story. I'm very interested in listening to you. As I understand it, you don't have any good stories, said cousin. I'm ready to hear any story. The cousin sat down very comfortably to continue listening to all the stories that her brother Vladika would tell her, and her. I have another friend. She has a very beautiful and rare name. Her name is Malvina. She has blue hair. She's pretty. She's all charm. She was brought up unspoiled. A good education, good manners. And also there is my friend, Prince, Kingdom of the Dead. Wonderful guy. You saw him? Oh, he always wears yellow clothes. Yellow is his favorite color. I didn't know guys liked yellow. The cousin laughed loudly. Yes, I saw this guy. I met him when I first came to the city. And I know a girl named Malvina. It was they who said first that they know themselves and will tell you the way to find your home. By the way, they brought me here, so that I don't get lost. Yes, Malvina is very pretty and a very kind girl. The bishop continued his story. It even seems to me, to be honest, sister, so that the prince is slightly in love with Malvina. I just noticed it. Of course, I didn't ask them directly, but it seems to me that this is exactly the case. Why not? Marina is a very gorgeous and beautiful girl. Yes, you are absolutely right, brother, said sister cousin. She is very beautiful. She is very kind. This is my first time meeting such a beautiful girl with blue hair. Anyone can fall in love with this one. I can tell you that for sure. You know, the brother continued to tell the cousin. And here is a young man in a yellow suit. To be honest, I like him too. I think he's funny. But in any case, he is very kind because he was the first to offer me help when he saw me in the city. He didn't know me at all, but he took it and offered his help. I wonder if he liked me? What do you think, brother? The cousin asked her brother Vladika. We are about the same age as Malvina. Well, I don't know. We'll see. I hope he liked me. At least that's how it seemed to me. I've only been visiting you for one day, and I already have so many new acquaintances. The cousin spoke to her brother at the bishop's, and in just one day I heard so many stories about your friends from you that my head is just spinning. Now, I'll eat some cookies. And again, I will be ready to listen to you, my beloved brother. The cousin said to her brother Vladika, and the cookies were really delicious because her brother made them. At one of the last cooking master classes, Kozina bit the cookie, lived it, swallowed it, and I felt that something wrong was happening to her. She had never felt these feelings before. Something inside her was on fire. She wasn't scared, but it was very unexpected. Something was clearly happening to her. The cousin felt that she was burning from the inside. But it doesn't just burn. It seems to give off some kind of energy and heat. A lot of warmth comes from her, and it doesn't end there. One got the impression that even in winter it could warm the whole city. What's wrong with me? Did the cousin ask her brother Vladika? The warmth in my cousin's body grew and grew. She wondered what would happen next. It seems to me that some kind of superpower is opening up in you, said her brother, the bishop. I made these cookies in my magic masterclass, and everything I cook there, and people have tried it. Then, superpowers are revealed in them. Surely you also have some kind of superpowers. You just need to understand what the bishop told his sister and cousin. This is not just something that happens within oneself. We're family. It's all genetic. All that remains is to understand what is in you, and then develop these abilities. The bishop told his cousin, we'll deal with this further. Nonsense. The main thing is that you felt something in yourself. Then it will develop over time. We will understand what it is about you that is different from everyone else. And then you yourself will develop your abilities. It's simple, believe me. I'll teach you. The Lord said to his sister and cousin, Thank you, brother, the cousin replied. We'll deal with this later. Do I have superpowers or not? Whether I have some kind of gift for something or not, it doesn't matter. Now, all I want is to listen to all your stories from beginning to end. Come on, tell me. Well, said Vladika, there was one story when, in his youth, the wife of our father of the Blue Dynasty was stolen. This, of course, was a very long time ago, but the story is actually interesting. So they stole my wife. I don't remember some bad people who put her in chains, and I don't remember why either. Probably they just wanted to make her a slave. So they caught her and put her in chains. Her husband. You already know him. He is the father of the Blue Dynasty. We are the best warrior. He went in search of his wife, many days and nights. For several months he wandered through forests and fields. He wandered among a mountain of thickets. He crossed waterfalls, crossed rivers, and forded. Of course, he found his wife. He saved her, because he is a brave, courageous man. He saved his beloved wife. She was fine. He brought her home. And that's the end of the story. The bishop continued to talk. The cousin asked about Malvina. Brother, tell me, please. Is it just me, or does Malvina really look like me? And I look like her. Only our hair color is different. Although, no. I'm definitely more beautiful than her. It just seemed like it to me. Sorry, brother. Everyone forgot the topic. Continue to tell another story. I'm very interested. Come on. Don't delay it. That's what I forgot to tell you. I completely forgot about the blueprints. I already told you that I was retreating from our lands back to myself, your possessions. The people stopped trusting him. They stopped obeying him. They stopped listening to him. And he lost all authority before his people. Various evil spirits tried to seize his lands, the lands of the Blue Prince. Due to a different set of circumstances, we did not succeed in this. In some places, the Blue Prince was stronger. In others, the enemies who attacked him were more stupid. But it's not that. The Blue Prince slowly began to go crazy. He was tormented by nightmare visions. Every time in a dream, it seemed to him that his eyes were about to pop out. The teeth became so large that they simply did not fit into the jaw. He became like a vampire. The tongue was like that of some animal. It stuck out so far from the mouth that it seemed like it didn't fit in his mouth at all. Then, everything became normal, and he turned into a normal human state. Nobody, of course, knew about this. He didn't tell anyone about it. But he suffered greatly in his visions. He kept waking up. Therefore, he could not get enough sleep and became tired. Ordered. Plus, it always seemed to him that some otherworldly forces were trying to steal him, not the people, but only him. That's why you weren't always very scared. He lived and slept in constant fear. Of course, this can make you go crazy. Who would argue? This, of course, is a very interesting story, the cousin told her brother Vladika. I really got into it. This Blue Prince, of course, got it in life. But from what you told me, brother, it seems to me that he deserved it. If he had been kind, this would not have happened to him. Oh, brother. Something started happening inside me again. The cousin said to her brother, "The Lord, I can hear my heart beating. This has never happened to me before. Do you think it's because of the scary stories you tell me? Or is it because I ate your cookies that you made at the Magic Master class? And superpowers continue to emerge in me, unclear. You arrived? Why didn't I come to you earlier, brother? You have so many interesting and entertaining stories. I agree that it is better to listen to them. Sitting at your table in the park. Sadness. And all this against the backdrop of birdsong. I understand that you, your friends, and of course, the residents of this city had to go through all this. Oh, how did you survive all this?" It was, of course, very interesting what your cousin continued to say. "I thought you had an ordinary town here. Ordinary people. Only you were bad at first, and now you have become good. It turns out that everything here is not so simple for you." The cousin continued to speak to her brother Vladika. "You've certainly suffered enough here. Now, if only I knew all the spells that you know. You are my brother. I would definitely fly to your aid," his sister and cousin told the bishop. "Wow, how angry I am at all this evil spirits. It seems to me that I am already ready to protect your people. Or my people? Or our people? Okay. Then we'll deal with someone's people." The cousin smiled and laughed. Because she is confused whose people are here and who needs to be protected. She is a girl, she might have thought, Vladika. She's definitely not in the know about what's going on here. Your brother? Something is wrong with me again, the cousin said to her brother. The Lord. I feel my eyes burning. It's very warm inside me again. Maybe I'm already a superwoman? Maybe I've turned into a superhero? All that remains is to figure out which movie it's from and what to call me. That's it. Brother, an ugly name was invented. It seems to me that I am already ready to defend the world, the earth, and your people. So for now, they will be yours. The cousin appeared in the form of a superheroine and addressed her brother, the ruler. Oh, I think now I'll save everyone. Even if they don't need it, I'll just take and save everyone I see. Sister laughed. Everything seems to have let me go, the cousin told her brother. Continue your stories. Please tell me something else about this interesting young man, the Blue Prince. It seems to me that you have a lot of stories connected with him. Yes. This guy, the Blue Prince, got it, of course. Well, I already said that he was slowly going crazy because he was seeing different visions in his dreams. A person must sleep and rest. He couldn't do it because he kept having nightmares. It seemed to him that he was becoming some kind of demon and that his face actually changed. His mouth became very large. The hair was somehow purple and dirty. Overall, it didn't look very good. How interesting. Continue, brother, cousin said. It seems to me that this blue prince has caused you trouble very often. Although you said he was stupid. Perhaps for you it was just a hassle. Nothing complicated. I won't interrupt you by telling you further. Okay, I will continue, said the brother to his cousin. Listen further. Once upon a time, this blue prince once again tried to fly to our land. Of course, he did not fly alone. He flew with his retinue, with his best warriors to our land. His task was to seize our lands, capture our cities and our people, make your slaves out of our residents. Well, I already told you that. So, the blueprint came down with its retinue, with your best warriors. It looked, of course, very intimidating. But I'll tell you honestly, no one was scared, sister. This was not the first foray into our land by this idiot. Didn't he have any particularly powerful spells? He wanted to freeze our lands a little, for us to give up, and then calmly set your own rules here. Flashes scattered throughout the sky. He was opposed by the daughter of the Blue Dynasty. Then she was a very young and youthful girl. She wanted to prove herself, to prove to everyone, firstly to me and secondly to the people, the residents of our city, that she could be trusted, that she was a brave and courageous girl, that she could defend our city. At that time, the reign of the Blue Dynasty did not possess any superpowers. It knew only a few banal ones, ordinary spells, which in fact was enough for her to defeat this idiot. She simply turned all the electricity of the city that was here against him. He was struck through with an electric current and disappeared. Here's another interesting story, the bishop continued. One day I saw a Malvina playing the harp in my garden. Was it my father's old harp? My father, my younger sister, and I could play them. They were just standing in my garden in the yard. I come up and see that one young girl is trying to play them, and she comes up with a wonderful melody. This surprised me the most. It was a young girl. It turned out to be Malvina. Continue telling your stories to your cousin, Vladika. You already know Malvina, this girl with blue hair. Young, beautiful. Then I saw her for the first time. She succeeded very surprisingly, because, as she said, I've never had to play the gusli before, it just happened naturally. She tried it and it worked. And I'll tell you, sis, it was great. So, let me remember what happened with us, Vladika said to his cousin. There was another demon of some kind. He wasn't scary at all. I would even say harmless. He himself didn't know what he wanted. Well, the only thing that caught me about him was his scary face. There were practically no eyes at all. His mouth was twisted, dirty hair. To be honest, the theme stunk a bit. Well, that's not interesting at all. Let's talk about something else. Let's continue, said Lord. There was also one, of course, a young guy who wanted to capture us all. He thought he was an all-powerful magician, but it turned out that he was just an ordinary stupid boy who believed in some kind of easy superpowers. He wanted to flood our land with rain, lightning, and hail. Should we have obeyed him? Indeed, lightning and hail rained down on our land. But believe me, my sister, no one was afraid of this. This is a normal, natural phenomenon. Moreover, this was to our advantage. It watered and irrigated our lands. After the rain, everything began to grow, even more strongly. In short, I won't tell myself any more of this story. This is an interesting story. The bishop continued his stories. Listen carefully, cousin. He was addressing his sister. One day not, or it has ceased to be as blue as you see it today in our city. There was always fire in the sky. There were flames all over the sky. Some strange flashes. None of the city residents, and I too, understood at all what was happening. It turned out that there is one person who imagines himself to be God. He imagined himself to be the god of fire. Although, to be honest, he didn't look like him at all. In appearance, he looked like some kind of poor man, but his self-esteem was very high. So, he decided to burn all our land, all our cities, all our houses, and all our plants, all vegetation. This was his stupid plan. It was immediately clear that he was simply obsessed with this. I realized that this was some kind of fanatic. The reign of the Blue Dynasty came to the aid of our people. At that time, she was already a good warrior. She had superpowers. She was a very brave girl who was not afraid of anything. Sometimes her hands turned into wings that she could flap, and a very large wind appeared from them, which set off any fire that she saw in front of her. The next day, this is exactly what happened. This god of fire, he decided to send all the fire that he had in his arsenal to our land. But the Rain Blue Dynasty was ready for this. So she waved her hands. Her hands turned into wings. This was the largest wingspan. She waved them several times, and a strong stream of air and wind flew towards this fire. This so-called fire god was just shocked. He, of course, had never seen anything like this before. He thought that everything would be simple, but it turned out to be quite the opposite. Of course, the fire went out happily. He turned pale. His eyes became cloudy, and his eyes showed that he was very afraid. A strong current of wind carried him somewhere far away, and no one saw him again. And the reign of the Blue Dynasty was like a butterfly. Its wings sparkled. They shimmered with fire, yellow, crimson, and red colors. She was simply magnificent. There was another demon who wanted to attack our land. Continuing his stories, Vladika. I won't dwell on this story for a long time. She doesn't deserve this. Yes, there was a demon. He thought he was scary. He thought he was strong. To shorten this uninteresting story, I will say this. He was wrong about his abilities. No one saw him again. The Lord laughed. Here's another funny story, the bishop continued. Tell your cousin. At first, they wanted to freeze us. We thought ice and permafrost were coming to our land, because in the sky we saw a terrible picture of blue icicles hanging onto our land, and hands reach out to freeze us. But then the following happened. Then everyone saw the silhouette of a fiery dog in the sky. It was some kind of black dog of an unknown breed, but it was definitely clear that there was a fire burning inside her. She bared her teeth and tried to tear everyone apart. This is what it seemed to all people when they looked at the sky. After the dog, a huge eye appeared in the sky. The eye of a lizard. Eye like a crocodile. Yes, exactly like a crocodile. This eye was on the whole sky. It was bloody in color, crimson red. He stuck out so much, so he looked down on us all. It seemed that it would burst and simply flood all our lands with some kind of blood or slurry. Then everyone heard that someone had called this dog in a normal male voice. The dog disappeared and its owner appeared in the sky. Dog breeder. He collected various rare breeds of dogs. Most importantly, he crossed them and made some kind of monsters out of them. Added magic, and the dogs became gigantic, and they scared the people. He himself, to be honest, also reincarnated as some kind of demon with red eyes and horns on his head. This only happened when he didn't like something, although he probably didn't like everything. This happened often, but to be honest, it looked terrible and was a little scary. Even to me. The bishop continued her story. So, this dog breeder decided to poison his entire herd of dogs on us. He really thought that we would be scared of him. But this is not about us. I have so many guardians of the city, so many heroes, that he simply didn't have a chance. So that he does not cause trouble on our lands. So that he does not frighten all our children and all the residents of our city. The daughter of the Blue Dynasty stood up to defend the city. He already had a plan to stop this idiot. The plan was so simple that it even made me laugh. The daughter of the Blue Dynasty has decided. Dogs, even though they are monsters, are still dogs. And all dogs love to eat tasty food. If you feed the dog deliciously, give him some kind of sausage and a bone, or sprinkle him with dog food, not only will he become full, he may even become your friend. That is, to move from the side of evil to the side of good. That's exactly what Rain did for the Blue Dynasty. She fed all the dogs that came to our land. They became full and satisfied, partly wagging their tails. They turned around and ran to their home. And so this incomprehensible story ended. I also want to tell you, the bishop continued, telling his stories to his sister and cousin. Malvina, I already told you about her. This is that girl with beautiful blue hair. She became very good friends with the daughter of the Blue Dinaz. They became best friends. Your friend. The girls were friends. They spent a lot of time together. They exchanged their superpowers with each other. They shared secrets. We learned old ancient spells together. And of course, we trained there. When something didn't work out for the daughter of the Blue Dynasty, she knew for sure that she could always ask her friend Malvina for help. She flew towards her to share her problems or her experiences. The girls discussed everything and found the correct answer. Of course, many were jealous of this friendship. The bishop continued his story. But the girls didn't care. There will be female friendship, period. This was the main law of these girls. Malvina also came to the daughter of the Blue Dynasty when something didn't work out for her, or for advice, or talk about your problems, or share your experiences. It was a strong friendship. When they got together, they cast spells, rehearsed, trained. At this time, anything could happen in the sky, and flashes of the sun, rain, hail, strong wind, lightning all over the sky. But the city residents knew it was all safe. This is training for war. Warriors who will continue to defend this city during one of these training sessions. By superpowers, the girls noticed that someone was approaching them. Who was the third Lotto flying towards them? He was so far away that it was impossible to see who it was. The most important thing is that the girls were not at all scared. Each of them already possessed super abilities, and each of them knew several ancient spells. This could well be enough against one of the aliens. Suddenly, the Blue Prince flew up to them. The girls didn't understand why he came and wanted to moan. Why are you doing these unexpected guests? Rain Dynasty and the Blues were not afraid at all. She had already dealt with this scoundrel once. That's why she wasn't afraid of him at all. It was not clear what he wanted and why he came. This was the main question for the girls. Why did you come here? I asked him for rain and blue ones. I came to ask you for help, the Blue Prince answered. I need your help. I know that on your way you have already encountered an incomprehensible gray head in the form of a demon with red eyes. I've never seen anything like this before. That's why I came to you for help. Tell me how to defeat him. Indeed, a silver gray-headed demon with red eyes and horns on his head flew to the land of the Blue Prince. He always flew in just to scare people. Some were so afraid that they really could not resist this demon. And those who were more courageous could simply drive him away, and he would not appear again. Then, the reign of the Blue Dynasty opened its wings. She flew high into the sky and flew to his earth. This was the easiest mission for daughters of the Blue Dynasty. She already knew how to fight this demon head. The daughter of the Blue Dynasty crossed her fingers. She cast her simplest spell, and she directed all her energy against this inhuman head. Fire and hot lava flew towards the monster's head. No one could stand it. The fire crashed into this demon's head with incredible force. There was a very loud explosion. The fire spread in all directions. It was noticeable that this head had simply turned into a cake. Next, I'll tell you some good stories, sister. The bishop continued his story. Let me continue to tell you about these girls, one of whom is called Malvina, and the second is the reign of the Blue Dynasty. I continue my story. As I already said, Malvina was a wonderful, kind girl. Although why do I say in the past tense? Why she was and is a good, wonderful girl. Its best quality is kindness. Brother, I'm ready to listen to your story forever. The cousin said to her brother Vladika, I was actually very impressed by the story about the wings, which were incredibly beautiful. I would like these for myself too. We'll figure it out later. Okay? I just forgot who had these wings. These wings came from the daughter of the Blue Dynasty. Did I tell you about her superpowers? When she could wave her arms, wings appeared instead of arms. They could either force the air to turn into a strong wind, or they could become fiery in color and press heat towards the enemy. But the wing is really very beautiful. They are the daughters of the Blue Dynasty, obviously fit. But I would like to return to Malvina. Tell you about her? The bishop continued his story. I have already said that this girl is very kind to her. He has a very kind heart, a pure soul, bright eyes. You understand that a kind person can be seen from afar. One thing I am grateful for is that she helps me take care of my pet. By the way, the bishop continued telling his cousin about him. Sister, you've already seen him, you know each other. It seems to me that you have even become friends. At least you told me about it. This is a wonderful dog that I once met. At first I helped him, then he didn't help. He also has a super ability, he can speak. But his greatest super ability is that he can sincerely love his master. He is a good dog. That's why I called him Good Dog. I'm lucky with my friends and girlfriends, because absolutely everyone liked my kind dog, and each of them wanted to help me. Each of them wanted to pet my dog. The dog always reciprocated their approval. He always waved his tail with pleasure, and everyone liked it. My friends also loved to feed my kind dog. I didn't tell them right away that a good dog can eat 5, 10, 20, 50, and 100 times a day. This is actually its only negative. He eats like a big, huge elephant. But I still can't understand how he doesn't get fat. But all the girls still love him very much. A kind dog always reciprocates everything. If a person is good, if he is on the side of good, then a good dog feels it. He licks them from all sides. He is always affectionate, never barks, never bites, and wags his tails with pleasure. That's why all my girlfriend's girls are in great demand for my good dog. They have a whole, real schedule. Anthony argued about who would play and walk my good dog, and when. The girls came up with a schedule for themselves. I don't even get involved in these matters. They like it. Let him do it. The most important thing is that my kind dog is happy, and being full is important. When he is hungry, he gets very upset, and then his mood drops. He doesn't talk to anyone, he might even bite. But there was another story. I just remembered her. The Lord said to his cousin, "How did a black cloak, as we called it, fly to Earth from another planet?" All we understood from him was that he wanted us to always have night on Earth, so that the sun goes out forever. And if the sun goes out, it means that the plants are dead. Nothing blooms, nothing grows. Complete darkness. But an old friend helped us with it. In quotes, of course. Our old friend in quotation marks had the same one. Blue Prince, which I told you so much today. The bishop continued to speak to his sister and cousin. In fact, no one expected this. He just owed us. He asked for help. We helped him. And debts must be repaid. That's why he came himself. This was his personal initiative. He helped us himself. No one asked for it. But tell me a secret. He only knew one spell. And it really helped in this case. Continuing to tell you. The bishop spoke to his cousin. I'll tell you again about the reign of the Blue Dynasty. When I first found out, she didn't have any powers. She didn't know a single spell. She was an ordinary young girl, but with great ambitions. She really wanted to become a hero, to become a girl who would protect the whole world. She tried very hard for this. She did everything. She attended my martial arts master classes. She learned by heart. Everyone cast a spell. She rehearsed this day and night. As a student, she was the best. When she gained strength, she gained knowledge. She asked me to send her to some good cause, to protect the people, so that she could prove herself in battle. I had to think about this. Firstly, I felt sorry for her as a girl. Secondly, I thought she wasn't ready yet. Although her appearance spoke of something else, she simply begged me, Lord, give me a chance to prove myself, and I will prove to you that I can protect you and your friends, my friends, and the whole people, and the city from all evil spirits and enemies. I looked at her and understood. She is definitely ready for a feat. This is a brave girl. At a certain moment, I realized that she was ready. Her look was decisive. She was serious. Prove to everyone that she is a real warrior. They are a girl from the street. At that moment, Medusa was flying towards us on Earth. The jellyfish had a lot of tentacles. She was slippery and nasty, sticky and cold. I decided to give the daughter of the Blue Dynasty a chance. It was necessary to check whether she could cope with it or not. Medusa looked so-so. It was an unpleasant sight, something blue and white, slippery and slimy, viscous. Our land was flying. Rain Dynasty Blue asked for a chance. I provided it. I think this was a great opponent for Togo to try out for the first time and protect our people from this jellyfish. Rain of the Blue Dynasty did a great job. The bishop continued his interesting story for his cousin's sister. She's just a brave girl. There are few of them now. She flew up to the jellyfish. She cast several spells that I taught her. These spells worked. Medusa began to lose her strength and her color. It seemed that Medusa was simply drying up. Then it will rain for Nastia and the blue ones. She didn't believe in herself. She did not expect that she would succeed right away the first time. She did not believe her happiness and her victory. With big eyes, I looked at this jellyfish that was drying up in the sky, and he enjoyed the victory. This first victory gave the daughter of the Blue Dynasty great strength. I would even say they are extremely confident in themselves and in their abilities. In an instant, this girl grew up. From a girl, she turned into a real warrior. Satisfied and happy, she flew back to Earth with us. The bishop continued to tell his story to his sister and cousin. From that moment on, people began to respect her. All the townspeople admired her. She really was a real, brave warrior, and no one cared that she was usually a young girl. I have a lot more history. So let's continue. The Lord said to his sister and cousin, "Pour yourself another mug of tea and listen carefully." Very often, all sorts of evil spirits who possess the superpower of fire flew to our Earth. But it's very good that we already had friends like the King of Fire to defend the city. The King of Fire knew a lot. He knew what to do with this fire. After the time when the King of Fire defeated some alien to our land, he went on tour all over the planet. He told people how to save fire. He told people that they need to protect the fire. He told the children that they should not play with fire. These were his rules. He taught this to people. He taught people how to handle fire so that there is no trouble. I'll tell you a little more about the King of Fire. The Lord said to his sister and cousin, "The King of Fire took the side of good. He is the only one who understood 100% or maybe 1,000% in everything related to fire. He talked to people of all ages. Most importantly, he held explanatory conversations with children. He explained to them how to treat fire, that you can't play with fire. You can't play with fire. Otherwise, it can lead to trouble and tragedy." The girls liked this one, so they always listened very carefully to the King of Fire's lectures. They rode and flew with the King of Fire and helped him. It was a good, kind mission to teach people how to properly handle fire. The cousin looked at his brother Vladika with very big eyes. She really liked the stories he told her. "Can you tell me another story? But please, I beg you, brother," the cousin said to the bishop. "Okay, I'll tell you everything I remember." The Lord said to his sister and cousin, "I remember one case when the father of the Blue Tongue Dynasty did not burn in the confrontation of this fire. There was a battle. There was a fight of fire. There was a confrontation between good and evil. The father of the Blue Dynasty took all the fire upon himself. It was within his power. He endured it, but his clothes could not stand it and caught fire. He himself was safe and sound. There was not a scratch on his body. Not a single abrasion, not a single wound. The strangest thing is that he didn't even have any burns from the fire. That's the kind of person he is. Such superpowers. But the hair and hat on his head were burning. It was a funny incident. Yes, another creature of unknown origin flew to our Earth. This creature looked like a person. Nobody understood why you came to us. Well, the only thing he did was spit blood. He probably wanted to water our entire land with blood. I don't know. I'm not sure. I didn't ask. Sometimes he really turned into a real monster. Blood oozed from his mouth. There was also blood on the teeth. He had some strange tattoos on his chest. The hair on my head was bloody. And, it seems, the eyes were also filled with blood. I sent the father of the Blue Dynasty to this confrontation on this mission. Father and this monster had their own scores to settle. I knew that the father of the Blue Exact Dynasty would be up to the task. This is a strong man. This is a warrior who has not known the bitterness of defeat. I knew for sure at that moment that he was the one who would figure out how and what needed to be done. What needed to be done. Such spells. What superpowers to use against this monster. I continue this story, and you listen, Vladika said to his sister and cousin. The father of the Blue Dynasty went to this fight. He already knew what needed to be done. What kind of spell to say. What kind of superpower to direct against this evil. I trusted him completely. He is a strong man. When the father of the Blue Dynasty flew up to this monster, he directed all his energy directly into his mouth. His father didn't want him to spit his blood on the ground anymore, so he decided to close his mouth that way. He closed his mouth and added internal pressure. This monster began to inflate. He got fatter and expanded. His mouth was closed. The eyes began to bulge. The spectacle was not for the faint of heart. And after some time, it just exploded. Cotton, and no one else is there. That's the whole story. It's just that the father of the Blue Dynasty returned to Earth as some kind of king after this battle. He rejoiced and rejoiced. All the people were joyful with him. They went out into the square onto the city streets and shouted, "Hooray!" in honor of this great man, a brave man named the father of the Blue Dynasty. After each victory, the body of the father of the dynasty and the Blues only increased. New superpowers were discovered. It added a lot of strength. Muscles appeared. He was stronger than ever. He had never felt so strong. These were his best years. This was his best physical form. Now we understood for sure that any opponent would be defeated. The main thing about him was 100% confidence in victory. Many different superpowers have been discovered in people on our Earth. I don't remember all of them, but you already know many of them. You met them. They constantly train, take off and fall and take off again, only to become even stronger, even bolder. Before my eyes, the daughter of the Blue Dynasty turned into a real warrior. She just needed to be given a chance. I'll tell you honestly, she took advantage of it. She proved to me and all the residents of the city that she is worthy of defending the city. I never cease to admire this girl. This is the best our city has. A girl who embodies courage, strength. It costs a lot, even though all men do not possess such qualities. And a few words about her father. King of the Blue Dynasty, a magnificent man, tall, handsome, strong, brave, courageous. You can list its quality for a long time. But the greatest quality is that he loves his daughter very much, and his daughter loves him. And this is a real family. I forgot to tell you about an old woman. The bishop continued his story, telling his sister and cousin. This is a magnificent woman whom I once left to live in my house. During my sister's wedding, we invited her as a makeup artist. That's how she introduced herself to us. "Hello, I'm a makeup artist." That's what we called her. She was combing her hair. She was doing her makeup. She suggested what, how, and what color to wear to the wedding. But we didn't even suspect that he was a secret agent. This is a woman who also has superpowers. She knows several spells and is clairvoyant. It was this woman, a makeup artist, who saw and predicted and told us that this head is approaching us. Remember, I didn't tell you. Head with red eyes and horns. So she managed to warn us. We thanked her for this, thanks to the makeup artist. Her ability to create an image. The daughter of the dynasty and the blue ones has been transformed. You know her? I've already talked a lot about her. She came up with a costume for her, but she came up with an image for her, which goes really well. And I like him too.